Philosophical Mysticism, Spiritual Handbook for Mankind, Simplified into 100 Short Lessons. Lesson 7, The Singing Ape. So, yeah, so this should be a fun one. And I do, talk a lot about words and language later on. But I thought it would be fun at this point to kind of just look at this basic question of whether, um, why did humans or ancestors, why did we start talking? Just a sort of base, not really a linguistic question, but it's a basic question here. Why did we start talking at some point? And it wasn't in our interest to do so, at least not at first. I mean, it seems like it wasn't really an interesting or something of interest to do, at least if we sort of take it in isolation, where one day we just start talking. But I think it's a lot more complicated than that. And I think it's worthwhile here, especially building off the last lesson, I think it's worthwhile here to look at the relation between emotions and language. And this will be useful, particularly to build on later on. And we might ask, did emotions somehow play a role in the development of speech? I'm going to say, in fact, it played a really big role, a very big role. And that's what I'm going to be arguing here in this lesson. The singing ape. So one really interesting theory, first proposed by Charles Darwin, briefly in Descent of Man, and more developed in the expression of the emotions of man and animals. And in the book, he's going to say that humans or our ancestor started singing before we started talking. And I think this is correct. I think this probably happens. It explains things so much better than somehow, through some mutation, one person wakes up and starts talking to, people that just have a blank stare in their face. I think this extra step is helpful. But we get another problem though if we go down this route with the singing ape route. We might ask, well, why did humans start singing? You can make the same previous argument that was made before. Why did humans start singing? Was there really a reason to do so? One answer is that singing, for whatever reason in humans, is a really good way of expressing emotions. Whatever it may be, whether it's aesthetic or something, it has melody. For whatever reason, singing is a good way to express emotions. Humans, being the emotive ape, overrun with highly sophisticated emotions, we're desperate to express these emotions. And singing is one way to do that. As a byproduct, though, singing, at least complex vocal ranges, are also going to allow us to share information as a byproduct, including intentional states and inner states. We sort of pick up deception or something like that in how the person sings or talks. Or at least talk isn't right, how they vocalize something. It could be completely meaningless, but we could sort of pick up on the emotion and get information from that song or that singing event. But singing in itself doesn't necessarily lead to speech. As Darwin points out, some primates, like gibbons, are capable of and make use of musical vocalization for like mating calls, warnings, etc. So they are doing something like singing, but they've never developed speech on account of that. They've probably been singing for millions of years. Um, for humans, though, it's different. For humans, because of this fact that singing has to do with the emotions for whatever reason, humans being the most emotive or having the most sophisticated emotions of all animals, they're going to take singing to the extreme. We have the most complex range of emotions of any other animal. Again, this is not even close. And as a result, if music is in fact an effective way to communicate emotions, we should have the most varied and intricate songs to express those emotions. So the sort of complex range, the intricate sort of nuance to our emotions can be represented in sort of these really fancy songs. Sort of create these really, really complicated, rich songs that animals, I guess no animal could possibly do. At least not in a way that's as complex as our songs. And again, the reason it's the case is because of the emotions. Singing is actually able to express emotion in the same cases much more, or in some cases, singing is actually able to express more emotion than speech. So sometimes just singing it out would actually get more emotion out if you try rather than if you try like to explain your emotional state. So we might say that this sort of drive in humans to maximize emotional expression, its impact on musical vocalization was conducive to developing speech. No other animal had the same selective pressure to ever develop songs as intricate as humans, or as robust as humans. So we have a lot of pressure here because we have the most complex emotions, and we're trying to express them in the world. In order to do so, we're going to need to make some new sounds. We're going to have to make some complicated combinations of sounds in order to really express what's going on in our emotional inner state. Using it, going through a long time, singing would eventually become useful if it's complex enough to exchange information or relay information. But what's interesting is we were kind of still there, though. We, even though we could talk now, we really don't need music or singing anymore, but we still love it. We still have singers as celebrities. It's cool. It's kind of like a remnant that we don't need anymore, but we still do it. We still love music. I would say we're evolutionarily predisposed to like music. I mean, you go these days, you go anywhere, coffee shop, the store, music is playing wherever you go. You can't escape it. It's interesting because I think it's like a once useful adaptation gone amok. So we once had this useful adaptation, and we had selective pressure to sort of keep doing it and having favorable dispositions towards it. We don't really need it anymore, but it's still there, and we still enjoy it. So music is an old adaptation gone amok. I take a different route in my words and language section to get to language. words and language sections. But this venture might maybe get us at an explanation in some degree to why humans would have any reason to try out unique combinations of sounds, where the capacity for experimentation will be needed for the first words to rise naturally. So why would we ever want to sort of start experimenting? Well, the reason would be because we just had so much to work with in terms of emotions and the sounds that we could use. So this sort of explanation is going to sort of give us a reason why, and we'll talk about this later when we sort of jump forward. Why would any person experiment? Why would they ever want a unique combination? Well, because of emotion. Okay, real quick, facial expressions. Darwin, in his books, really concerned with facial expressions, and humans, unsurprisingly, had the most sophisticated facial expressions and facial recognition of any other animal. The human face is an emotion projector. So human emotion were actually playing more than one angle to get themselves out in the world. I would also hold that emotions have a role, or played a role in shaping the physical structure of the human body, face, larynx, tongue, etc., that allowed us to sing much better and eventually led to speech. So I will say, re-say, complex emotions played a pivotal role in humans becoming what we are today. And this lesson's showing that it also played a role in language, in the sort of ultimate development of language. All right, that's the lecture.